Lexus. The company that figured out something the rest of the auto industry is still too embarrassed to admit out loud. You can take a Toyota, give it softer leather, a quieter cabin, and a badge that looks like a stretched out L, charge $15,000 more, and the customer will shake your hand and call you a genius. That's not an insult. That's a business model. It's been printing money for 35 years because Lexus owners are not buying a car. They are buying a feeling, a very specific, very controlled, climate-regulated feeling. And today we are going to walk through every single one of them because if you have ever stood in a parking lot and instantly known something deeply true about a complete stranger based purely on the trim level of their vehicle, this video is for you. Let's start with the one you already know. The ES owner. This is the person who decided they had officially arrived in life. Not because anything actually changed. They still have the same job, the same mortgage, the same kids who don't call. But they walked into the dealership, sat in that cabin, felt that whisper-quiet door close with a sound like a bank vault made of pillows, and thought, this is who I am now. The ES is, mechanically speaking, a Camry that went to finishing school. And the owner knows it. They will even tell you they know it. They'll say, oh, it's basically a Camry under there, with a little smile, because admitting it first means nobody can use it against them. This is a person who has read exactly one car review in their entire life, and that review used the word refined 4 times. So now they say refined too. The ride is refined, the interior is refined. The owner is, above all things, refined. They have never once redlined this car. They are not sure what redlining is. They drive in the center of the lane at exactly the speed limit with both hands at 10 and 2, and they are at peace. Then you have the RX owner, who is running an entire household out of a luxury crossover. This is the best-selling Lexus for a reason, and the reason is that it has perfectly solved the problem of wanting to feel rich while still needing somewhere to put the soccer cleats. The RX owner has a coffee in the cup holder that has been there since Tuesday. There's a single goldfish cracker fused to the back seat that has achieved a kind of immortality. This person is not interested in horsepower. If you ask them about horsepower, they will look at you the way you'd look at someone asking about the horsepower of a refrigerator. The RX is appliance luxury. And that's not a knock. That's the entire point. It starts every single morning. It has never once left them stranded. It will outlive their marriage and possibly the son. The RX owner has a deep, almost spiritual trust in this vehicle, the kind of trust normally reserved for golden retrievers and grandparents. Now we go up the ladder to the LS owner, and the energy shifts completely. This is old money, or at least money that has been around long enough to get quiet. The LS is the original flagship, the car that walked into the luxury market in 1989 and politely terrified Mercedes-Benz into a midlife crisis. The LS owner is not flashy. They could afford a German S-Class with a name longer than a phone number. And they looked at it and they thought, no, I don't need the valet to be impressed. I need the seats to be heated, cooled, and possibly capable of giving legal advice. This person values silence above all earthly things. They have a massage function in the driver's seat, and they will mention it exactly once, casually, like it's nothing, and then think about it for the rest of the conversation. The LS owner has transcended needing your approval. They simply glide everywhere, slowly, with the suspension absorbing potholes the way a therapist absorbs your childhood. And then we get to the IS owner, and specifically the F Sport. Oh, the F Sport. Here is a man who wanted a BMW. He really did. He test drove the 3 Series. He loved it. And then a small voice in the back of his head whispered the words, repair costs, and check engine light, and out of warranty. And that voice has saved more marriages than couples counseling. So he bought the ISF Sport. Now, let's be very clear about what the F Sport package is. It is a body kit. It is aggressive front styling, some red brake calipers, paddle shifters he will use twice, and a steering wheel that feels expensive. What it is not is fast. The F Sport owner has the look of a performance car with the soul of a very stylish commuter. And he knows, deep down he knows, When a real sports car pulls up next to him at a light, there's a flicker, a small grief. He revs the engine and it makes a noise that is technically present. But he's got the aero package, and he's got the warranty. And he tells himself that's enough. And honestly, most days it is. But I do not want to lump in our next person with the F Sport crowd because that would be a crime. I'm talking about the actual F owner. The ISF, the RCF, the GSF, the real ones with the naturally aspirated V8, the one that screams like it owes someone money. This is a closet enthusiast. On the outside, a respectable, mild-mannered person. A dentist, maybe. An accountant, someone with a 529 plan and a reasonable bedtime. But under the hood is an engine that Lexus engineers built clearly against the wishes of the marketing department. This person has a secret. The secret is that on an empty on-ramp, at the right hour, with nobody watching, this dentist becomes a different animal entirely. And then he straightens his tie and goes back to talking about flossing. We respect this person enormously. He contains multitudes, which brings us to the LC500 owner, the most tasteful person at any gathering. This is the individual who looked at the world of grand touring coupes, looked at the price tags, looked at the styling, and made a genuinely sophisticated choice. The LC500 is, by widespread agreement, one of the most beautiful cars Lexus has ever produced. It's a concept car that they somehow forgot to ruin before building. Now, is it the fastest thing in its class? No, the owner does not care, and that's what makes them so dangerous. They are not playing the numbers game. They will let you brag about your 0 to 60 time, nod slowly, and then walk over to a car that looks like it was designed by an architect and a jazz musician. The LC owner understands that arriving somewhere and turning heads is its own kind of horsepower. They drink coffee black. They have opinions about lighting. You are not on their level, and they are too polite to say so. And now, the rarest creature of all, the LFA owner. If you have ever met one, you will remember it, because they will make sure of it. The LFA 500 made. A naturally aspirated V10 developed with Yamaha that revs so fast the engineers had to use a digital tachometer because a regular needle physically could not keep up. Let me say that again. The engine reacts faster than a mechanical gauge can move. This car sounds, depending on who you ask, like a Formula One car, or a choir of angels, or the actual voice of God clearing his throat. The LFA owner did not buy a car. They joined a religion. They will tell you, unprompted, about the carbon fiber weave. They will tell you it took a decade to develop. They will tell you Lexus lost money on every single one, and they will say it with the pride of a parent. You cannot out-enthusiasm this person. Do not try. Just hand them the microphone and let them preach. Let's come back down to earth. Way down. To the G, X, and LX owners. These are the off-road people. Or, more accurately, the people who could go off-road, theoretically, if the situation ever called for it, which it never has and never will, but the capability is there, and that's what counts. The LX is a Land Cruiser that put on a tuxedo. It can ford a river. It will instead ford the drop-off line at a private school. The GX owner is slightly more unhinged in the best way, often spotted with a roof rack carrying gear for an expedition to the absolute heart of darkness, which turns out to be a campground 40 minutes from a Whole Foods. These vehicles are genuinely mechanically indestructible. The owner knows this. There is a calm in their eyes that comes from driving something that could survive the apocalypse, even if the most extreme terrain it will ever encounter is a slightly aggressive speed bump near the Costco. Now, I have to address a special category because they exist and they are watching this video right now, nodding, the high-mileage stock forever owner. This person bought their Lexus possibly a decade ago, possibly two, and they have done absolutely nothing to it except change the oil with a punctuality that borders on a personality disorder. The car has 300,000 miles. It has never been modified. There is no aftermarket exhaust, no lowering springs, no questionable tint. The interior is immaculate because they have never once eaten in it. They will tell you with a quiet, terrifying serenity that they plan to drive it until one of them dies, and they are pretty confident it won't be the car. This is a reliability monk. They have achieved a level of peace the rest of us can only imagine. While the rest of the internet argues about which engine is best, this person is simply eternally driving, forever, silently, at 300,000 miles and counting. And then there's the CT200H owner, the hybrid hipster. This is the Prius that went to a liberal arts college and came back with a vocabulary. The CT owner wanted to be efficient, but they also wanted you to know they have taste, and the CT let them have both with a straight face. They will park very deliberately. They have a tote bag. They know the difference between a flat white and a latte, and they will explain it to you whether you asked or not. There's a calm, slightly smug aura. The energy of someone who is doing slightly less harm to the planet than you and would never bring it up. Except they just did. 3 times. I'd be doing you a disservice if I skipped the lease churner. This is the person who has never actually owned a Lexus in their life and never will, and that is the genius of their entire strategy. Every 3 years, a new one appears in their driveway like a seasonal bird migrating. They have done the math. They have done so much math. They will explain the math to you. They have never paid for a repair, never worried about depreciation, and never once felt the deep emotional attachment the rest of these owners feel, because how can you love something you're going to return like a library book? They are not sentimental. They are efficient. And in 3 years, when you see them again, they will be in the facelifted version, and they will be just as serene. Now, I cannot end this without talking about the grille. The spindle grille, the single most divisive design element in the modern automotive world. Lexus looked at the front of a car, a simple, peaceful place, and decided it should look like an angry hourglass, or a predator from outer space, or, depending on the model year, a cheese grater that has seen war. And here is the beautiful part. The owners have feelings about this. The defenders will tell you it's bold, it's distinctive, it has presence. The critics will tell you it looks like the car is permanently screaming. And the truth is, they're both right. And that's exactly why Lexus keeps making it bigger every single year, daring you to look away. There is a non-zero chance that, by 2030, the grille will simply be the entire car. So here's the thing about all of these people. The ES owner who has arrived, the RX parent running a small kingdom, the LS owner gliding silently above us mortals, the F-Sport guy with the look but not the engine, and the real F owner hiding a V8 behind a respectable haircut, the LC owner with impeccable taste, the LFA owner who joined a cult, the off-roaders who never go off-road, the reliability monk at 300,000 miles, the hybrid hipster with the tote bag, the lease churner doing math, and everyone with an opinion about that grille. They all have one thing in common. Every last one of them made a choice that was just a little bit smarter, a little bit quieter, and a little bit harder to make fun of than the German alternative. And then they got into a car that started on the first try, every single time, for the next 200,000 miles. So go ahead, laugh. They can't hear you. The cabin is too well insulated. So tell me down in the comments which one of these is you, because we both know it's at least one of them, and the longer you wait to admit it, the more obvious it gets. And if you made it this far, you already know what to do.